On today's acrylic painting tutorial for beginners, we're going to learn how to paint realistic water in under 10 minutes. I'm going to teach you some techniques that you probably don't know about, which will make your life a lot easier when painting water. So here is a primed canvas. It's 10 by 12 inch. And all I'm doing is I've got some phthalo blue, which is the dark blue, and some turquoise, and I'm mixing the two together. I'm using a big brush. And all I'm going to do is block in the top of my canvas with this darker colour. And this is going to represent deep ocean water, hence the fact it's going to be dark and blue. And then all I'm going to do, I'm going to get the same two colours, so some turquoise and some phthalo blue. I'm just going to mix them together to get the same colour as previously. And I'm going to add a little bit of cad yellow. And this is going to turn the colour into a more sort of phthalo green, phthalo turquoise, which is more associated with the sea, and give it a slightly yellowy turquoise tinge. And all we're going to do, we're going to blend the two colours together. Now as we come down in the canvas, we're going to get more shallow, so we're going to create the same mixture, phthalo blue, turquoise and cad yellow, but we're going to add a tiny bit of white. And this is going to make the water look like it's getting more shallow as we move down into the canvas. So we're just mixing the same technique. Look, we're just adding more white to our mix. And the water should look, because the colour is getting lighter and more turquoise, it should gradually blend together and it make it look more shallow as it comes towards the bottom of the canvas. There we go. So we're going to do the exact same thing as we move down. We're just going to add less of the phthalo blue because it's the darkest colour. So we're just going to add less. But we're still going to add plenty of turquoise and plenty of cad yellow. And we're just going to add more white as we come down. And as you can see, it makes the colour much lighter and more turquoise. And if you use a big blender brush, look, we're just getting lighter, more white, yellow, turquoise, but less of the phthalo blue. So plenty of white now at the bottom. It should signify that the water is more shallow. And we've got this lovely gradient in colour in our paint that we've got all mixed up that we can use in a minute. So just gently blend the colours together. And there you have it, a lovely gradient in colour. Now we're going to swap to a smaller brush, and then what we're going to do, we're going to use our mix. We're going to choose the second level of mix, and we're going to put it on the darkest top of our canvas. And what we're going to do, we're just going to create sort of zigzags, but we're going to have them quite close together. So they're going to look quite squashed and quite close to one another. And what that's going to do, we're going to try to create perspective. So these waves are waves that are off into the distance, so you can barely see the sort of light reflecting. And if we get the lighter shade as we come down, so the middle kind of lighter shade, we can make these zigzags look wider, less close together and a bit bigger, and it will kind of make them look like they're coming closer towards you. You see that? So they're just bigger in shape and size. They're kind of like squashed wiggly circles. And then if we get the lightest shade and link these together, and again just try to get bigger and wider as we move down, it should look like light sort of refracting in the ocean to create realistic water. Look at that. How easy was that? In literally 4 minutes we've done that. That is so easy, isn't it? So then please dry your work with a hairdryer so it's nice and dry, so your canvas is dry. And then we're going to do this little cheat, which is a really, really easy cheat. We're going to get some cerulean blue and plenty of white. I've mixed way too much blue. So let's add way more white. We want a really pastel blue, look, a really pastel blue. And we're going to swap brush once we've got our white all in there. Look, we've got to get plenty of white. And what we're going to do, we're going to swap to a flat brush. Now a flat brush is really, really good for painting waves because of the shape. And we're going to load it up. We're going to take much of the paint off onto some kitchen towel. Look. So we've got a dry brush, look, a dry brush, and all we're going to do, we're just going to create sort of scoopy shapes with our brush to create the illusion of the sky shining down onto the waves. So look, by using this brush, it's really easy to do some scoops, and we can just soften them up, look, by just smudging them with our finger. And again, as we come down, look, we're going to make these a little bit further apart, and this again adds to the illusion of perspective. So my waves are getting bigger and further away from one another to make it look, they're really squashed together at the top, and then at the bottom, look, they're hardly even together, they're really far apart. And again, it's very barely noticeable, but it creates perspective. And then all I'm doing, now I know where they are, I'm just shading them in a little bit more with a little bit more paint, and it should look like the sky shining down in the middle. Because my brush is dry and it's got hardly any paint on, it's almost like I'm shading it in with a crayon. Look, I'm taking most of the paint off, and if I want a bit more paint, look, I can just push down harder. So in the middle, I'm going to make it a little bit brighter. Look, I'm just going to push down harder, and I'm going to get more paint, and I'm going to make the middle more vibrant. And what that's going to do, it's going to create a glow effect. So let's just get some more paint. Look, it's going to create a glow effect in the middle and make it look like a shimmer of light on my ocean waves. And look, you can come out from the middle now. Now I know where these sort of waves are. I can come out from the middle. I've got hardly any paint on my brush. This is a technique called glazing. Look, I've got barely any paint, and I can just sort of soften areas. Now, if you'd watched the video previously that we've just done, we've got a sunset video which has lots of these sort of techniques on blending if you'd like to check that out. Because painting realistic water is very easy once you know the tricks. And then look, what we're going to do, we're going to add some white to our mix. And then in the middle, look, we're just going to create more of a shimmer just right in the middle. And this is going to be our glow. So when we put the water sparkles over the top, it's going to make it look hyper realistic really, really easily. So I'm just trying to follow the waves. I kind of don't like this wave, so I'm just going to make it a little bit nicer. Looks a bit more pleasing to the eye. And as I say, I can just soften areas up with my dry brush and just come away from the middle with some of that blue and white just to make it look a bit more nice. There we go. Excuse the focus. Brilliant. So just work on it. Just try to make your waves how you would like it at home. And then to paint the water sparkles, this is a little cheat. You get a small brush and you get pure titanium white, and you go down the middle of your glow and create splodges. And try to link some of the splodges up so it looks like shimmer on your ocean waves. Now what I tend to do, look, I kind of follow the waves. I never really put them on the shadow parts. I put them on the highlighted parts, on our little zigzags. And I try to create them down the middle, but I kind of like them going off to an angle. Because I kind of think it looks more realistic. But this, once you've finished and you know where your sparkles is, this is the secret with acrylics. Please dry your work with a hairdryer and go over them again, because acrylics absorb the paint colour from underneath. So if you don't go over them twice, they won't look as nice. So there you go. A fantastic painting which I've signed. I've stuck on a lovely easel in under 10 minutes. So you've learned how to do the gradient in the water. You've learned how to paint the zigzags over the top. You've learned how to do the shimmer. And then lastly, how to do the sparkles. Now we have plenty of acrylic painting tutorials on realistic water on the channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe. There's plenty of playlists for you to all binge. And don't forget to tag me at Stewart Paintings on social media. Happy painting everyone, and have a fantastic week ahead. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Take care. Bye.